Right. Hello and assalamu alaikum to everyone. My name is Tawheed Ar-Rahman. I am a registered and accredited mediator. I run Salam Mediation. Today we've got Shazan, my colleague, and Mohammed. Shazan is a trainee mediator. So she'll be talking a little bit about mediation and training. And Mohammed is also accredited mediator. They both will introduce themselves. Just to some reminders, please do all the questions on the questionnaire section and leave it towards the end. So I'll pass it on to Mohammed to introduce yourself.
Well, afternoon. My name is Mohammed Ali Islam. I'm an accredited family mediator. I run mutual mediation.
Good afternoon. My name is Shazan. I'm a trainee mediator.
Great. So Helen, would you mind starting the slide, please? Great. So can we go to the next slide, please? Mohammed, Shazan.
Okay. So the Family Mediation Week, the focus of this webinar is that this session is part of the Family Mediation Week and looks at how family mediation can work alongside with Sharia practice. Although we do say Sharia practice here, it doesn't just focus on Sharia practice. It can also apply to other faith and communities as well, and any other religious process where mediation and religious practices complement each other. Next slide, please. What is family mediation? Family mediation is a process that involves a trained or accredited mediator who facilitates a platform, a balanced platform between two individuals who may have communication problem because of family breakdown, separation, divorce, and a mediator will be an impartial third party who comes in between them, helps them have a discussion, and helps them navigate a way forward to making their own informed decisions. Next slide. Okay. Family mediation has the same key principles as the Sharia Council. Participating with the Sharia Council or family mediation is a voluntary process. Any discussion that takes place is confidential. It does not go to a third party. Within the Sharia Council, the person who would be supporting participants with differences or in mediation, the mediator, they are both impartial. They do not take sides. They do not make decisions for you, and neither do they make any judgments. What they do provide is clear and information to help support the participants in making their own informed decision. Both the councils have safeguarding practices, and they will always make sure that safeguarding practices are applied throughout the whole process to ensure that the platform is suitable for the participants. The benefits of mediation or working with the Sharia Council is the participants do actually make their own decisions. So the outcome is theirs that they make, and it's not by the mediator or a member of the Sharia Council.
Just to add here, both Sharia Council and FMC Mediation, I mean, three of us are involved in FMC, but we do not work for Sharia Council. But however, because we are Muslim and we have clients coming from Sharia Council, we've worked indirectly with Sharia Council, so we have some indication and ideas how Sharia Council works. So we're not representing here, but we are aware of some of the principles the Sharia Council uses. I just wanted to add that, Mohammed. So there are Sharia Council members here in watching this, so I'm sure they would agree these are the principles used. Unless if we change something, if we had something added, that please let us know on the chat. But to our best of our knowledge, we're not representing the Sharia Council here. We're just trying to say from our perspective, this is what we see Sharia Councils are doing. Next slide, please.
How FMC family mediation works alongside Sharia Council. FMC mediation can be a practical support for a Sharia Council, not as a replacement for its religious role, but as a complementary process that supports clarity and safeguarding. The two framework works well in partnership.
Just to add to that, Shazan, I have had experience working with a member of the Sharia Council where we signpost referred participants to each other so that the participants can understand the mediation side of it, what mediation does, and what the Sharia Council does. And it did end with a successful outcome. So working alongside each other, it does complement the entire dispute resolution process.
I mean, I have also had quite a few clients coming from Sharia Council because they probably went to Sharia Council first and then they have referred them to mediation to resolve child arrangement matters or financial, but mostly when it comes to doing the financial matters, the Sharia Council usually would recommend going to court, and that's not, I mean, we're going to be discussing that in a little bit further on, but I receive clients, and I'm sure many other mediators who probably do receive clients from Sharia Council, and that's what we're trying to kind of expand here. So, next slide.
FMC Mediation and Sharia Council. As mentioned, FMC has its a role in dispute resolution, so does the Sharia Council. However, the Sharia Council provides faith-based guidance through religious process and pastoral support, while the FMC mediation process provides a neutral, structured process for separating families with disputes with a clear route into the UK legal process, if required. Both the council, as I mentioned, do share the same aim. They look for fairness. They also provide anyone participating with either council, they participate with their consent. Again, the focus throughout any process is safeguarding, so we ensure that everybody is safe in the process, and we also try and help families move forward. The difference between the two, well, minor difference, or one difference that I can say is that the family mediators sign off court forms if required, such as mine confirmation. Equally, Sharia Council can also sign off Islamic divorce documents, such as Kula and Talaq. Now, when it comes to divorce process, there is the civil divorce, there's also the religious divorce. Some people may want to go through both the process. Therefore, the Sharia Council would be able to sign off those documents, Islamic documents, to give the participants the peace of mind that they look for.
Next slide.
FMC Mediation and Council, like I mentioned, working together, which I've mentioned before. I have worked with the Sharia Council before. Working together, it does provide fairness, as I mentioned. People participate with the consent. Safeguarding is obviously important for both. The difference is that there are, which complements both the dispute resolution process, is the Sharia Council is a faith-based, provides faith-based guidance. It supports people with the religious divorce process. It also provides pastoral support. They can also provide counseling, Islamic counseling, and other Islamic therapy as well. It is a spiritual and moral framework. With family mediation, it's neutral, impartial process. It provides a place for structured discussions. When children are involved, it will always be child focused, and safeguarding children and vulnerable individuals is a priority. It also provides a route into the legal process. As you can see, although they do have different roles, but if they work together, it actually complements, as I mentioned, the dispute resolution process. Shall we move on to the next slide?
Yeah. I wanted to introduce the concept of khula and talaq. I mean, there are maybe other mediators and other people who working with clients. So you may come across the word khula and talaq. I'm sure everyone in Sharia Council knows. Basically, talaq is given from the men's perspective, and khula is given from the women's perspective. So men can pronounce talaq to women, and khula would be granted by Sharia Council. A wife would go to Sharia Council to seek a khula. So it is a request comes from but ultimately they may end up in the Sharia Council. So many of nowadays I come across a lot of clients are religiously married. Their marriage is not registered, and so issues to do with financial matters and others they're seen as cohabiting couple if they're religiously married. Most Muslim will be religiously married, but may not be registering their marriage. So that is to say they wouldn't need to get a divorce. They're seen as a cohabiting. So talaq usually given in three times. A man can give a wife 3 times. Even 1 time is sufficient, so long as there's a waiting period is about 3 months, depending on 3 menstrual period for each of those talaq. So 1 talaq is sufficient, but it may be that in 3 different occasions, 3 different issues may lead to 3 different talaq. And once the 3 talaq is done, that person is no longer a wife or cannot be a wife until other circumstances changes. But I'm not going to go into too much into detail, religious details. That's not my role here. But I'm just trying to explain to you that there are difference between khula and talaq. And khula is given through the Sharia Council or a scholar or somebody who's able to, an Islamic judge, to give a khula basically to the husband. So both can get talaq, both can get a divorce. Wife have to seek it, husband can give it, and they may go through the Sharia Council as well. Is there anything else, Muhammad or Shazna, you want to add?
No, we can move to the next slide.
Next slide.
Okay, so the benefits of family mediation, FMC family mediation. There are many benefits through mediation. It if mediation is sought at an early stage of a marriage breakdown, it does help reduce conflict. It can keep matters calm and help navigating difficult conversation. But that can be very beneficial at an early stage. It does lower stress. Going to court, many people have mentioned that going to court and any proceedings can be very, very stressful, not just emotionally, but it can also be financially stressful for the parties as well. Equally, with any child-related matter, children's needs are at the center of the discussion. Their well-being and their safety comes first. With mediation, it does allow the families to retain control over their decision. So it's a lot easier to live with a decision that a person has made themselves rather than being told what to do. So mediation gives the participants that power, that control as well. With the support of a mediator, it does minimize misunderstanding because a mediator can provide legal information, and it does support clearer decision making. With the mediation process, specialists can be involved in the process with the participants' consent. So this can be any specialist. It can also be a member of the Sharia Council if the participants wanted some legal support and information within the process. Equally, there are sometimes solicitors do sit in, sometimes we do have an accountant and other specialists there. So hybrid mediation can also provide additional support throughout the process. Next slide, please.
Shazan, I think you're doing this slide.
Safeguarding the child welfare. Uses established safeguarding frameworks to identify concerns early. Encourage safe, workable, and child-focused arrangements. Supports both councils' aim at act fairly and prevent harm. Enables children's voice to be heard. Enables parents to hear their children's honest view. Children speak to mediator confidentially.
I think safeguarding is a very significant thing in family mediation, especially when we are doing MIAM, we're always checking mediation information assessment meeting, the safeguarding concerns that we have, and for both the children and the participant in mediation. Mohammed, do you want to add something on the safeguarding that you
Yes, with safeguarding, although we've said established safeguarding framework, but safeguarding framework is constantly evolving. So as mediators, it is a requirement for us to be attending safeguarding courses and to understand the new rules around it, new practices, and any other improvement that has been made. So we are constantly using that during our mediation sessions, such as when we do the MIAM, it's a safeguarding suitability assessment. When we're doing the joint sessions or shuttle meetings, again, we also continue safeguarding screening. And this doesn't just apply to the participants, it's also for the children as well. So the entire family that the discussion is based on. Keeping that, we also act fairly, as Shazana has mentioned, and that is to prevent harm for the participants. Children voices. That is a part of the mediation process where a trained child consultant or mediator would be able to speak to children of certain ages. It is the children have the ability to express their voice and wishes, but it doesn't mean that they are making any decision for the family. It is up to the parents to be making the decision, but they can use the children's feelings and wishes to support them in making those decisions. The mediator usually sees a child by themselves, and it is an interactive session. Child consultation is an interactive session. It's not a question or answer session with the children. It is a conversation that they have, and it is confidential. So most of the time, children being children, when they are talking, they will give their honest views.
Okay.
Shall we move on to the next slide?
Yeah. Faith-based and mediation. We're mentioning Sharia Council, but we have to stress that whatever religion or faith one practicing, they may have their own practices, and FMC mediation would work with any organization. So parties may go to their religious advice and look at how to kind of reconcile their relationship or end it. They may have that support and advice and guidance. They may be referred back to mediation, and mediation go through the similar issues as child arrangement, financial matters, and the organization may work together. And that's what we're trying to say. We're trying to say religious organization and FMC mediation, avoiding the need to go to court, saying court isn't the place to go. I mean, we need to encourage people to try mediate, and the court should be last resort. And that's the bit we're trying to emphasize here. And it is not in best interest of any party to end up in courts.
To empower families to use non-court dispute resolution, it is very important to be able to signpost them when they do come in contact with a mediator or the Sharia Council or any other professional to the right support. So as you can see on the screen, the Sharia Council can signpost people to mediation, and vice versa from a family mediator can do that with the Sharia Council. Now, it's just not these two organizations, because the family mediation can also signpost when people come to them to other support such as therapy, counseling. Equally, someone might be looking for Islamic therapy, Islamic counseling. And then we can signpost the participants to Sharia Council who may have that support there, or they may be able to signpost the individual to the correct service. So signposting does provide a wider support to all people in difficult situation, and it does also try and keep participants out of courts as much as possible. As we all say, the court should be the last resort. So we go to the next slide.
Process. Usually a party will contact a mediator, and then you would have what known as the first meeting, MIAM, Mediation Information Assessment Meeting. In that, we'll try to find out, as we mentioned, safeguarding the purpose of mediation, why they have come to. So it is for mediator to assess suitability of mediation, and the clients to learn about mediation and the process. So the first meeting is a required meeting if the parties wants to take the matter to the court. But after the first meeting, then the second party will be invited, and they will have their own MIAM, and then followed by that, okay, there may be a choice that they want to proceed with mediation, or one party wants to go, or they did not attend. At that point, the first party who's applied will request a MIAM certificate. So if it proceeds to joint meetings, then both of them will be invited to joint meeting, whatever the issues, and then whether financial or child arrangement, And if they come to any kind of agreement, or they're not actually agreement, they're proposals at this stage. And those proposals, whether they are financial or child arrangement, will be drafted into a document such as a memorandum, parenting plan. For financial, there are creating open financial statements. And then from those, you can have a consent order. If any time mediation breaks down or they have not attended mediation, then they're entitled to take the matter to the court by receiving the MIAM certificate. Without that, they cannot go to court. Now, there are exceptions to MIAM certificate. There are times that you will be not needing to get a MIAM certificate. You can apply where there is harms, or where there is kind of bail condition. Maybe at those points you may need to go to court directly. But however, mediation is always supported throughout the process, even with non-molestation orders or bail conditions. They will be done in a slightly different way. I think Mohammed mentioned previously, through hybrid mediation. Is there anything else, Mohammed, you want to add?
I just wanted to add that if in the event that mediation is not successful, proceeding with a court application isn't the only option that they have. There are other dispute resolution platforms available that families can try. There, such as, just to name a few, arbitration, solicitor negotiation, and so forth. Therapy as well. So there are many other dispute resolution platforms available other than the court being the next step if mediation failed. Obviously, we do want the court, anyone going to court as a last resort. So if anyone wanted more information about other dispute resolution platforms, we're more than happy to answer that and put it in the Q&A, and we can answer that during the question and answer sessions.
Next slide, please.
Understanding FMC mediation outcomes, they are written records of what participants have proposed. They are not legally binding unless taken forward. They can be used to support court processes if needed. They help families move from discussion to action. They provide a clear reference point for next step, including legal advice if needed.
So with a mediation outcome, it is always it always comes about when the participants discuss the issues and start making informed decisions on what to do about their future. This could be children, this could be family home, financial separation, future living arrangements. It does come about when the participants make their own informed decision with the support of a mediator providing the information. When the outcomes are recorded, written down, the documents are not legally binding. They do remain informal. The arrangements do remain informal. Participants do have a choice. They can keep it informal and use it as a guidance or foundation to build up on it or move forward. Or if they wanted, they could send parenting plans and financial separation agreements to the court for it to be formalized into or turned into a court order. So the families, it also helps when we say it helps families move from discussion to action. It does allow families to see what what the future would be when they move on from separation or move through divorce, or discuss a parenting plan, what it would mean for the children as well. And then that allows them to put those agreed proposals into action confidently and with a mutual understanding with each other. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I'd like to add a couple of things. Even though you may have a mediation proposal, they are not agreement by itself because they are not legally binding. We encourage as mediators to get advice on, for example, if you have an open financial statement which has both of your financials, both of the client's financials information, you need to get advice, or we recommend get advice before agreeing to anything. And when you have a memorandum of understanding on the client, and then they would get the advice where needed, and especially for financial matters. And so mediators are always encouraged to get advice. And that's why one of those reasons you will have those documents to go and show it to somebody like a solicitor, to see if what you're making, the agreement you're proposing to make, before you make it legally binding, that is it suitable for you? Is it going to work? Because we are not allowed to advise. We do not advise anybody. We document what you've discussed in mediation, and they are just proposals at this stage. Next slide, please.
So, in summary, family mediation, working alongside with the Sharia Council, it strengthens both the council. It does provide a wider service to families who are going through a difficult time of dispute, separation, divorce, and it does help reduce conflict. It improves clarity, it enhances safeguarding practices, and it supports everybody in making, and both the councils support the participants making voluntary informed decisions. Neither of the council replace each other's role. They actually enhance each other's role as well. It helps family navigate through the religious belief of it, and also the practical civil legal side of it, with dignity and fairness. So, as I mentioned, it doesn't replace the Sharia Council's religious roles. It both complement each other. It also provides a bigger space for families to have confidential discussions and work through the issues. The Sharia Council's core purpose is offering faith-based guidance rooted in fairness and passion, and the Family Mediation's core purpose is to provide a platform where families can come and discuss and talk through their differences and come to an agreement, a fair agreement as well. So, as you can see, both do have similar goals as well, but it's working together that actually will provide a bigger dispute resolution process for them.
Next slide.
When to refer to a mediator. Early referral is often helpful. Mediation can help at any stage of a relationship breakdown, although as a general rule, an early referral to a mediator can prevent dispute becoming entrenched.
So this doesn't just apply to mediation as well. Early referral to any dispute resolution platform always helps. Seeking support, seeking help, and information always helps in participants when they go through relationship breakdown. As I mentioned before, it does reduce conflict. It can help with discussions being done in a very calm and peaceful manner. It also helps with being able to make informed decision. Later referrals can sometimes be being a bit more difficult for the participants, because then they've gone through such a difficult time without the actual support that they require, which makes their disputes a little bit more difficult for them to navigate. As I mentioned, it is just not for mediation. It also works for the Sharia Council, early referral to the Sharia Council for any Islamic issues. Then the participants can get early information and be able to resolve the differences as quickly as possible. So it works for every dispute resolution practice.
Now, sometimes I receive time to time emails from, and real life example, receive email from Sharia Council inviting me to talk to the other the parties regarding their issues. So I would email both of them and to see if family mediation would help them in this regard. So Sharia Council are doing that, and we need to acknowledge why they are doing it. And I think we need to support time to time, and our early referrals, of course, it's always helpful. So yeah.
So we go next slide.
Yeah. So where do you find? I mean, you go to FMC website. We will certainly recommend. There are mediators out there who may not be registered, may not gone through the proper process of trainings. It's rigorous. Creating a portfolio. Shazan will tell you a little bit later. We've all gone through that, so we recommend you find a accredited mediator through FMC mediation link, which is yeah.
With the Family Mediation Council website, it's not just to find family mediators. There are other helpful information there. There are information of signposting. There's information of different mediators who may do legal aid, mediators who are registered to the mediation voucher scheme, as well, mediators who are also child consultant. So there are, you can also select mediators with your typing in postcodes. So with the Family Mediation Council website, there is a lot of helpful information there on finding mediators and also being able to signpost participants to the right services.
Next slide, please.
How to become an FMC family mediator. Complete approved family mediation training. Register as a trainee mediator with the Family Mediation Council. Work under supervision with a professional practice consultant. Begin mediating cases while building experience. Follow the FMC code of practice at all stages. Complete required continuous professional development each year.
So Shazan, I wanted to ask, you started training. Where are you, and what stage? What are you doing at the moment? What was your process like, briefly?
Okay, so there's 3 stages to this training, and it's just about 4 months long, and it's combination of online and going to physical setting. Lots of practices in Mayam, practicing Mayam run-throughs and real life cases. So yes, very interesting. I've just finished my training and I've submitted all my work, so just waiting and looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting the accreditation.
Just as I mentioned earlier about the FMC website, so if anyone out there was thinking of starting the mediation course and where to find approved training organization, there's a list of approved training organization on the FMC website as well that they can choose from.
Next slide. Mohammed, you wanted to say about becoming
becoming an accredited mediator, as Shazan has covered the training side, that's part of it as well. But once you finish your training, you then start mediating. You can start mediating, but you have to also build up a portfolio to show competency in mediation as well. It is a very extensive portfolio. It can take up from one to or sometimes up to 3 years, but it does help it does give you the skills and the tools of effectively mediating, and it does help you become a successful mediator as well. So please don't be daunted by the fact that it may take 1 or 2 years to complete. The whole portfolio does demonstrate core mediation skills and ethical practices, as I mentioned. There are some criteria to it. You need to complete 3 cases evidencing that you work with children, you've done a financial separation and safeguarding practices as well. Once that's done, you then, and hopefully Shazan will be getting to that stage very soon, is to submit it to the FMC for assessment, and then hopefully reach your accreditation, fully accreditation as a family mediator.
So you're working and earning through building a portfolio, and you would be working with your PPC, and you'd be referring, so getting support from PPC. You may not be able to sign MIAM certificate. You would need to get your PPC to do that. So you've got your training done. You want to then build your portfolio, as Mohammed said, it takes about 1 to 3 years, and so you know. actual work, actual learning really does take place when you're actually doing the mediation, and you'll be working with potentially other mediators and learn co-mediating. All of those skills helps, and you're constantly evolving, and of course CPDs doing the CPD. So it's an ongoing process, and you continue to doing that, developing it. So, is there anything else?
No, we can
Next slide.
next slide.
Well, Islamic organization isn't the only, of course, as we mentioned, we're doing it for Islamic, but any religious organizations, cultures. Mediation affects families affected by disputes and separation, all cultures and communities. And we are here to support all cultures and communities. And I mean, but three of us from subcontinental background, we understand, and we are Muslim. We focus this on Islamic perspective, but it affects everyone. I would say supporting families going through difficulties. I mean, court isn't a place where we want people to go away from court and resolve it amicably. Real dispute can be resolved through mediation. And so encouraging mediation is probably what would be best for all.
So essentially, it is about working together. It doesn't just have to be the Sharia Council. Any faith, any culture, any belief, if we all work together, we'd be able to provide people with the support that they need when going through a difficult situation, such as a family breakdown. And we all have mediators, the Sharia Council, and other institutes like that. We all have our own specialities, and once we are able to work together and signpost to each other, it would give the people a wider platform to seek help and support.
Just one, I mean, we haven't probably mentioned cost of mediation. It is vastly different from going through the court process. I mean, the cost can range substantially, 50, 60K. I'm here often for a simple arrangement going through the court through a solicitor, whereas mediation is nothing like that. You may be able to resolve it in what, tenth of that money or even less, probably. And you've also got some legal aid, depending on if you're eligible for legal aid. And there's also mediation voucher for children's matters up to the amount of £500. All of this can be used and avoid the additional cost and stresses as well. So there is a huge difference in cost and time. I mean, if you're going through a court with child arrangement matters or financial, maybe looking at a year and a half, some cases. And whereas mediation can be resolved as quickly as you both, as parties work, basically, the faster they work, faster you can get it resolved, usually within a month, maybe two at max. Is there anything else about the cost, Mohammed, you want to mention?
No, that's why we can get to the next slide.
Yeah, is it?
Just wanted to add that it's also very important to look at the family side of things and the fact that the stress level and everything goes down when using mediators, and it's a joint decision. So a third party, where when you're going to court, they're making the decision for you, and that's very hard to follow. But if they're jointly making them decisions, then it's easier to keep up to it.
Yeah, in mediation is this participant who decides. So that's very important, and left the decision to themselves. So any questions at this point? If you have any questions, we can, I think there is one question. Helen, is there one question for us?
Thanks very much for that presentation. That was great.
Thank you.
We've had a question about circulating the slides of the recording. The recording will be available afterwards. If you've got any questions for our mediators, do use the Q&A function and put them in, and we're very happy to try and answer those for you. So the first question is, do you have any case studies that you can mention anonymously to showcase the value of mediation and the process that the family went through? So can you give some examples, I suppose, of
I
how
can
it's
give
actually
one.
benefited families?
Recently, I've dealt with, I wouldn't mention what cultural community they are from subcontinent, that's all I can mention. The party came to mediation. They were in court for 5 years. This is in child financial matters. The child arrangement was partially dealt with by the court, and they spent nearly £137,000. and back and forth going to court and with solicitors. And so the court has recommended them try mediation, and they tried with financial. They came to me and we sorted it out within a month, which was resolved. They produced their memorandum, financial settlement. It was resolved quite swiftly. There was a lot of issues around child arrangement, which prevented them because the issue was so complex. They had businesses, they've had properties, and parties were working for each other, and one party was renting property to the other. So they were husband and wife, but they also had business dealings. So it was a really complex settlement and issue. And I believe they mentioned as 2 occasions the consent order was rejected by the court. So they couldn't understand. They were so entrenched in their conflict, and they couldn't see a way out. And I can see this was a case that it shouldn't be mediated, but I felt talking to them, more I spoke with them, more we built trust. It seems they're understanding what's going on, and they started to believe in the process. So there are a number of cases like that. I mean, the power of mediation, if it's approached in a right way, if mediators' trust was built, they started trusting the mediator, and rapport was built, there's quite a lot can be done. And now they're working where they had previously non-molestation order, previously they have had bail condition. All of this has been resolved, and they have separated their finance. Now they're working for each other now, as well as separated. They had a business dealing that continued together, and they did manage to get their consent order completed.
Thank you. I think you managed to answer one of the other questions we've had, which is, are there any agreements that the courts would reject if both parties are happy? So in this case, they'd previously reached a consent order, but the court didn't think it was appropriate, and therefore the court had rejected that. But that was prior to coming to mediation.
Correct. I think sometimes the clients are so in a position that they're so difficult what's gone on, and if the cases are particularly difficult and the paperwork isn't produced properly, we're not solicitors, but the court can reject it, and the court has a right to be fair to both parties. They're neutral, so the court has, and if it doesn't feel right, doesn't look right, they will reject it, and therefore you may find yourself going back and step back, basically. So first thing to do, get advice, get mediation, have your legal advisor advising you correctly, and then get the paperwork done in a correct way.
Thank you. The next question is, how would you as mediators manage any requirements that would mean a woman who wouldn't be able to be alone with a male mediator?
So, Helen, with mediation, there are 2 options available. Since COVID, we've all started to work online, so we do have an online meeting, MyAMS joint meeting, and shuttle meetings as well. Personally, I do work with other practices with male and female mediators. So if a female participant approached me to say, do you have a female mediator? Then I do know female mediators in other practices where I can signpost them for mediation as well. So while working together, which is the purpose of this session that we're having, what the importance is we all work together and be able to signpost people at early stages so that they can get the support that they need.
Thank you. And it's also possible, isn't it, to have co-mediation where you have maybe a male mediator and a female mediator in the room at all times, and like you say, working together.
And there are also cases that I've had one particular case that husband was absolutely sure that the wife wouldn't want to mediate or communicate with me because she wouldn't take my phone call, and I can understand his concern. He told me right at the beginning, do not contact her, she wouldn't talk to a male person. Although I have, Islamically, I'm well within my right to contact her, but I respected his options, and I've got Shazan to contact. Shazan and I work together, and it turns out that the wife didn't have any problem, and she didn't also had any problem doing the MyAM with me, but Shazan did join at that time. But subsequent meeting, the parties were alone, that was fine basically. So it's difficult to know what you're going to hear from the other parties.
Yeah, so one person had a view that the other person actually didn't share.
Yeah.
And actually that brings us on nicely to our next question, which is where one participant is saying they're not legally married in accordance to UK law as it's an Islamic marriage. How would you deal with a mediation in that situation?
What, do you want to take that one?
Okay, so as mediators, we don't give legal advice. We can give legal information. There are times when someone may come to mediation that we would encourage them, if there is a question around certain legalities, such as if an Islamic marriage would be accepted within the UK or not. Sometimes we do encourage for individuals to get independent legal advice as well, to get clarity on those legalities, because as mediators, we don't give that legal advice. There are also times where they may believe that they are just Islamically married, but their marriage certificate may say something. So we can also request a copy of the marriage certificate to see what it says on there as well.
So there might be some fact finding that you encourage the parties to do, and some legal advice you encourage them to take. But also mediation, being a flexible process, can meet the family where they're at, whether they are Islamically married or whether they're married in according to law of England and Wales as well, or legally married as well. So it can be quite a flexible process to meet the requirements of the families.
They may be also married in another country, so they may be married,
of course,
and then they come to UK as a spouse. And often thought that if they're married somewhere else, that is count as not married here. So that's if they come to UK, they are married, and is seen as, although it may require a marriage certificate to get a divorce and translated one as well, but they are technically married if they come to UK as a spouse.
Thank you. So we've got a question here. What safeguarding checks are made when making child arrangements during mediation? So do you check previous domestic abuse or crimes connected to children?
Mohammed, do you want to take that one?
Okay, so before we, with me, what happens is when I'm contacted by somebody, I will do a preliminary safeguarding check. So I would request information on any information about domestic abuse, any involvement of police, social services, or any other professionals as well. Also, we do check for any domestic abuse connected to crimes, such as to children as well. So we do ask a little bit about historic information there. We also, it's because mediation is such a flexible process. As a mediator, you would be able to see how parents are reacting when they're talking about child arrangement, how much arrangements they're proposing themselves, how much they're resisting. And if they're resisting to make proposals, we would look into their concerns why. And this can be done early stage in a MIAM setting, and it can also be done in a joint or a shuttle meeting as well. Given the fact that most mediators do mediate online now, it gives us the flexibility to have a joint meeting, and if there is any concern, then to turn it into a shuttle meeting, so then we can address any safeguarding concerns that arises during the mediation session.
Yeah, so your role as a mediator is to assess for suitability and safety for the mediation process. And so you can do that by asking people how they feel and if they're able to make their own decisions. And you can also, you'll start that in the MIAM, but you'll be continually assessing as you go along as to whether or not people are able to be able to make themselves heard, and you'll be assessing that as an ongoing process.
Family breakdown is a very difficult situation for anyone to navigate. And between the time of having the MIAMs and coming to the joint session or a shuttle session, situations can change. So ongoing safeguarding screening has to continue throughout the entire process while you're working with the family.
Thank you. The next question is, would it be your role to sit on any Sharia Council board meetings to help resolve a case?
I don't know whether we can do that because FMC mediation, we would need to kind of be with the client online, and whoever's in the meeting, they will also have to agree to agreement to mediate principles. So sitting on a board of other council, Sharia Council, we can probably do that if the parties agree. But before that, we will probably need a MIAM and with the party, and both parties have to agree that yes, we're going to have. So it's going to be like, as Mohammed previously mentioned, would be hybrid mediation, bringing specialists or involving ourselves with other organizations together. If that is the correct way, Mohammed, would that be the correct way? Would you say?
I mean, that is one way. We wouldn't need to sit on a board. I mean, as we mentioned in this webinar, that if working together, the Sharia Council board has members there anyway, and they are specialists in the area. We are specialists in mediation, so it's about working with them. So if we did need to sign somebody to Sharia Council board, we'd signpost them to them, and vice versa. They would do with us. But just to mediate an Islamic or a Muslim family, we don't need to be on the board at all because we are mediators.
Okay, thank you very much. A couple of people have put your hands up. I can't call on you to ask a question live, but if you can put it in the Q&A, then we'll try to get it answered. We do have a few minutes left. So the next question is, can you choose a mediator with your faith and cultural background? If so, how?
This is something we are hopefully working on. That is to say, if you go to the FMC website, you may be able to choose, but I don't think, Helen, that's going to be working now. I mean, you may find mediators by name, what faith they're in or background they're in, if you choose so that meet the cultures. But at this point, probably not without the names identifying. For example, Muhammad, we know he would be Muslim. Whether we would not know whether he really would practice Islam or he knows Sharia Council. But after you go into the mediator, you probably realize. But we primarily focus on doing mediation from the FMC perspective, using the guideline and code of practice of FMC. We wouldn't be involving ourselves Islamically unless the party wants to just ask us one or two questions related to that. But we would not certainly be advising Islamically. But Helen, maybe you can fill us on what our thoughts on this.
Yeah, so the FMC is first of all, we do hold some information about mediators who speak different languages. So if it's actually you're looking for somebody from a different cultural background who speaks a different language, then we do hold some of that information at the moment about mediators, and we're looking to put that onto our website. We are exploring the possibility of whether or not it would be appropriate to have more information about people and their profiles on the website. At the moment, it is limited to their qualifications and status, and it may be appropriate to leave it like that. However, whatever your background, whatever your faith, whatever your cultural needs, it's really important that you feel comfortable with a mediator. And so we would always encourage you to maybe phone around mediators, maybe find 3, give them a call, see how comfortable you feel. Ultimately, if you are going to mediate, unless you're going for co-mediation and you have 2 mediators working together, you will need to choose one mediator, and you will need to agree that with the other person, although the mediator can write to the other person and invite them to mediation, as Tor had suggested earlier. But it is a case of going to the FMC register, finding some mediators, and phoning them up and asking them questions about the process. Do you understand my culture? Do you know about my faith? Could you incorporate this into the process? So you might want to choose a mediator who's got the same faith and cultural background as you. You might want to choose a mediator who understands that but doesn't share those those elements of your life. So that's really about, in any case, for any mediation, it's about finding a mediator that you are comfortable with. And the best way to do that is to find their details and give them a call.
I totally agree. I mean, I've had clients, we will have initial phone call. It's almost like a short MIAM, finding out a little bit about what's going on with them and really understanding their concern, not going too much in detail. It's that from the initial phone call, you're building rapport, building trust, and you want the mediator to really hear you, understand, and that's when you get to really find the mediator going to be able to call more than once, call few, maybe call them again, the ones that you have spoken with, see what it's like. So we're always here to listen. We're not going to be restricted with time. We're there to help you, and give us a call and see if there is anything we can do if there is.
Thank you. We've got not so much a question, but a recommendation for some research findings from a mediator on the FMC register, academic, who's recommending research by Sonia Shah Kazemi and Mohammed Khashoggi for mediation from an Islamic perspective. So I will definitely be looking that up. Thank you for that recommendation. If anybody else wants to look that up too. And I think we've got one more question that's just come in, which is ideal because we've got 2 minutes left, so we'll finish on this one. This is what happens if somebody comes and approaches you and they're keen on mediation, but the other person doesn't want to proceed with it?
Well, initially, one of us would do the MIAM. He would do the MIAM first. You would have to and hear that party, and then you've done the MIAM. You approach the other party. They have not responded to mediation, or they simply rejected mediation, and then the party who came first would be entitled to MIAM certificate to take the matter to the court. But it must be said that mediation or non-court dispute resolution is encouraged by the court, and you may find yourself, or that the party may find yourself back to mediation or some sort of non-court dispute resolution. So yeah, you would get the MIAM certificate.
Thank you. And I think that does bring us round, doesn't it, to something that you all said right at the beginning. The mediation is a voluntary process, so it is up to, although it's encouraged by the court, is very much up to the participants whether they choose to enter into the mediation process. And that's part of the benefits of it, that if people are in the process, they want to be in it, and that does help them reach agreements in the end.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. It is 4:30 now. We have run out of time. May I say a very big thank you to all of our speakers today, and thank you to everybody for attending. The recording of this session will be on the FMC YouTube channel if you want to go back and watch again, or do email us in the FMC office. My email address is executive@familymediationcouncil.org.uk, and I can pass on any queries to our speakers that we receive, or we'll get back to you and answer from the FMC office. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice afternoon.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Helen, and everyone else as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Thanks.